Is it going? There we go. Okay. All right. So thanks for stopping and for allowing me to talk to you a little bit. So tell us a little bit about why you're on Omegle today.
I'm really on here because I was really bored. It's finals week, and I have a lab report that's due tomorrow that I'm procrastinating on, and I should be working on, but I'm on here instead. Um,
Yeah. When I was
I,
in, oh, go for it.
I don't actually know what made me decide to come on here. There were a lot of different things I could have done, but I came on here instead.
That's amazing. When I was in college many years ago, I used to go on Omegle all the time, and my friends would be like, "Why are you going on there? You have like a paper. You have a 20-page paper to write." And what's your final for?
It's a final lab report for organic chemistry.
Oh, you're in Orgo?
Yeah, and
Oh my
then
gosh.
also tomorrow at 7 a.m., I have an online microbiology final that's going to be fun.
Oh my
So I should be
gosh.
either asleep, I should be
So
asleep or studying, but
you are really in the thick of like hardcore stuff, like organic chemistry. For those of you who aren't interested in like pre-med or anything, is the class that most pre-med students like shudder at thinking of taking. But isn't that right? Would you say?
yeah, I have to be honest, I'm only in the lab because I dropped the lecture this semester because my grades were too low. Part of that is just it being a really hard class, but that is also it is impossible to do organic chemistry online. It's possible to do organic chemistry in person, but it is impossible to do it online.
So, so like I know a bunch of people who've taken organic chemistry. I have not taken it myself, but like why is organic chemistry the one that beats people to death? Are you there?
I
Oh,
one thing that my professor always said, and he'd particularly say this in like early weeks when like the kids would be like, oh well, it's not going to be that hard, I'm smart, I don't have to take this seriously, I can not show up to lecture, I can be on my phone in lecture. So what he'd say the first couple of weeks is that everything builds on itself. So
mm,
if you don't understand what's going on these first few weeks, you either need to learn it or you need to get help, because I don't want you to come to me the day before finals and say, I don't understand anything, and then expect me to teach you the entire course in a day. And I thought he kind of mean at first, but he was right. Like, part of it is that every concept builds on itself.
mm.
So like you learn the basics and then it just keeps going, and part of organic chemistry that messes people up is there are so many rules. There are like, but I've seen people do really good in math, and they say the reason they do good in math is because they like the rules. Like they're like, oh, English I do horrible because there's no rules, but in math I know that every time I put something in this way, I'm going to get this solution. But organic chemistry is like somewhere in between, and there there are so many rules to take account of. You have like a giant mental checklist in your head you have to go through when you do every problem. It's just like it's a lot of work. It's pretty hard.
Wow. Wow, that's intense. I mean, that's high level stuff, and like props to you for being honest with yourself about what you like and going with it. But actually, what do you like? What is your kind of what is your track that you are on?
Right now I'm on a biology track. But honestly, I'm kind of still trying to figure out if that's exactly what I want to do because um I mean, there are several parts of college that I think are absolutely absurd, but I think it's absurd to make 17-year-olds who just got out of high school decide their entire lives.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and
Yes.
also and also that like people like look down on you if you haven't decided yet.
Yeah. Like what? Like, did you really know that? This is what's crazy is that a generation ago, 2 generations ago, like our parents or whatever, like had so much social pressure put on them because that's the way it was always done. If you didn't have a family by the age of 30, you're going to be a spinster or you were going to be a guy who no one like looked up to, so you had to do it, you know? And these days,
And then the people who had the pressure put on them will put the pressure on the next people
exactly.
because it's the way it is. And oh, look at me, I turned out fine. But like I always want to ask these people, did you turn out fine? Are you
Yes.
like it's funny, but it's actually really like serious.
Yeah.
Did you turn out fine? Are you doing what you love? Are you still passionate about the thing you went to college thinking you would do? And another thing that I think is like hard about making 17-year-olds decide their lives is that like everyone makes jokes about how like colleges send you all these emails and army recruiters chase you down in the hallways after lunch, and they're funny jokes, but like that's really what happens. Like as soon as you become like a junior and a senior and you start deciding where you're going to go, everyone swoops in on you like vultures and going, you know, pick this, choose this. And it's not just the colleges or the army, it's like your family too.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I'm just like writing notes here because I think everything that you're saying is just really fascinating, and I think that we probably come from a very similar culture. Did you go to like a college prep school?
No, I went to a public school, but you know.
Okay. Yeah, but did you do really well in school?
Yeah, I
As-
was always
At the top?
I was always, you know, the gifted kid growing up. I was in the gifted program and you know, I could like do all this stuff. I read at like a college level in 4th grade. I skipped a grade and like I was always the gifted kid, which it makes it you get to high school and especially when you get to college and you kind of start to realize that are pretty average when you compare yourself. Like I got to my biology classes my first year and I was like, I'm smart. I've never had to study for a test. I should nail this. Like, but keep in mind, my grades had been like declining in high school. Like, I went from getting all A's to getting A's and B's to getting B's. I was still like, you know, I've never had to study for a test, and I chose to do science comes naturally to me. And I acted like a complete idiot in every class, and I ended up not getting the grades I want. And like, yeah, and
There's so much here. You know, like first, I just want to say to you that you know, like I hope you don't tell yourself that you are an idiot because what does that even mean? You know, and why? Why? You know, like life is so short. Really, it's so important to like you were saying, you know, to look at yourself and to find the thing that you really like. And you're on a certain place on your journey and your path to discovering that. And it doesn't matter where you are on that path. Wherever you are is where you're meant to be because of either, life circumstances or, the way that the experiences that you've had and how you've processed them. You're always equal to the experiences that you come up to. And to say to yourself, if you do say to yourself like, oh, I'm an idiot, I'm so stupid, like that isn't helpful for you finding peace in your life. And so I want to offer that to you, and I can tell you right now it's not true. Like you're like uh how articulate you are, how emotionally intelligent you are and vulnerable you are about your situation with a complete stranger on Omegle. Like these are all things that are coming very naturally to you, and it's pretty impressive. I think I don't know how old you are, but it seems like you are ahead of the curve in terms of understanding the things that are helpful for your own health.
Sometimes it's I prefer to talk to, especially when you have. So, like, I think you're going to get good results with this series because, like, it's like those they do like Humans of New York, or they do projects like that. Ones that came to mind when I heard about yours, like the things say in those, and like when people do anonymous threads, the things that people will themselves, like if sad, even if they've done something bad, as they can like talk to us, they can't even talk to someone
that they're close. Yeah, absolutely. I have to tell you, I don't know what your name is, but I think that your internet is cutting out a bit, and so I'm getting like 75% of what you're saying. Um, but I'm able to like listen contextually, and I think you're right. Like when I first started this thing, I was thinking about like humans. I was like, oh, this is kind of similar to Humans of New York and also Joe Rogan, like a combination. Like it's an interview series. But
is it going to be a recording my internet, or
yeah, I think the internet. I think your recording will be kind of in and out. But it's just started in the last little bit that you were saying. I don't
oh, maybe louder?
Could be. Yeah, could be. I don't know. I don't know technology at all.
I don't know. I'm just here to where I think that my is, and see if that.
Okay, yeah. Do you want to try that? Do you want to kind of go closer to the internet connection spot?
I just like lean forward.
Okay. Yeah, it's still. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Um,
Well, my internet is low, but like I just leaned forward and I'm trying to speak. That'll help.
oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. It is a little bit. Um, yeah, it's this internet stuff is so freaking dumb. I, man, I really want to talk to you about a lot more stuff. But this internet, I think, is gonna kind of spoil it a little bit. I guess before we get going, do you have any thoughts of how um, education could be improved? Like you've presented a really, I think, nuanced and specific critique. But what do you think could be a solution to that problem?
Your internet's cutting out too, so uh,
Understanding.
I don't know if it's like both ends, if it's on Omegle's end.
I
Like
think it could be on both of our ends because my internet has historically been pretty awful.
that's okay. I hope you can recording and maybe you can like caption what I'm saying or like the gist of,
Yeah, I think we're getting just enough to be able to understand what you're saying.
or like or narrate it with the
Sure.
audio or something. I don't know how that stuff works.
Okay, so
But
what? Yeah, so go ahead. Did you hear my question before, or would you like me to maybe write
yeah,
it down?
no, I heard it.
Okay.
So really, I don't know, because I mean, I'm not teacher. I'm not like a child expert. I'm just a gone through and who's now going. Um, and I guess a couple. I mean, much as I appreciated people saying, "Oh, you're gifted," and like giving me work was at my level. Me read higher level books and stuff. I appreciate all. I don't really think dividing up into groups on there is really helping anybody, because if you get put in the high group, or if you get put, you are still going to have problems, and like still have it reasonably, like especially like the high groups, I'd say. And people assume is easy for the kids label it. But I mean, I think a lot of kids who were like me would agree with the statement that school traumatized us in a way. Like, just wasn't just other kids being mean to us. There was a lot of like just like the tends to come with like anxiety, and come with depression, and come with like quirks yourself. So I used to go to school and cry every day, and would tell me, you are so smart, you can do this. That wasn't the problem. The problem was the kids didn't like me, and I didn't really fit anyone. And the thing, like, I hurt my ears like when out in class, and some teachers were really cool about it. Other teachers who would like pry my hands when I was covering my ears.
Pry your hands?
Have my hands on the sides of my head, like pull them off.
What?
And
Who the heck
your ears.
does that?
I'd be like, you can't cover your ears in the real. And I'm like, but like, cover your ears in the real world if you want to. Two,
Yeah,
I'm
it's just
10.
Yeah, it's very.
I'm 10 and
it's
I'm in a
abusive.
classroom and people are yelling, cover my ears.
Yeah,
There's
it's abusive, and it's micromanaging, and it's hyper controlling, and yeah, nah. Who
some
is that, a teacher?
teacher, yeah, but I mean, teachers are better than others, and I
Right.
can tell, like, there were some really tried to attack everyone's needs as individuals, but for them the rules just weren't there. There is no way that you can have 20 kids in the same classroom, different needs, and be able to serve every single one of those kids. So you end up giant groups of them the same. And the teacher's choice, and sometimes it's something that kind of gets forced into. I had an amazing second grade teacher who was really nice to me, but there were times where she threw up her hands like, I can't help qualified. And I don't fault her. I think that she is an amazing person for that. Like, she, make everything good for every kid who came in the classroom, but there were like 20 of us in that classroom, and we were and we were gross, and we were and we played, and there's just several issues with the education system. And another one, they really want one to come out this way. There's not really a balance of your strengths and weaknesses. I was like really in English, but I was really math, and I know people who are really good in math at English, and there was like, I being English and having the college reading level or whatever would get sat next to the kid who parents weren't teaching them at home and who were reading on a level in second grade. And that's not fair. That's not fair to them.
Wow.
Like, I could talk about just the that kids face, just like not even just everywhere. It's something about for a really long time, because it makes me so upset, because no kid should be like afraid for any reason, or sad about going somewhere for any, be that they're like getting hurt there, or
being shunned, or being embarrassed.
Being embarrassed, just not fitting. Like,
yeah. So I just want to clarify, because you're going in and out a little bit, and I just want to summarize some of the things that you were saying. So one thing that you really don't believe in is kids being segregated by like merit, I guess, or by skill level of certain things.
yeah, like, I was a kid, and that came set of problems that, like, now when I think when I reach, it's hard sometimes, because I'm like, I've realized this monologue of you're gifted come easily to you, and so any come easily, I have to really struggle with to not drop it immediately. And there are kids who get put into the lower category, and usually it's that those kids can't control an undiagnosed learning disorder. They are diagnosed, but they're not being given their medication, or their family is poor, have time with their parents. Who,
Yeah.
I knew a student. I knew a student, and he was having a lot of trouble, like just everything. He was of trouble with just all the subjects. He was and the teacher asked him, like, don't your parents practice with you at home? And he said, my dad is working and my mom has cancer, so she's tired from her treatment, can't read to me. And that made me so sad that many, probably so many like teachers at school and like teachers' assistants were probably gave up on this kid because like he's in the low, but nobody would take the time to like, nobody would ever know how he got there, and nobody would ever time to give what he needed. And it wasn't anybody, it wasn't anybody's fault. There wasn't anything that any besides his teachers could do for him. And like it just it was hard because just
Well, it's hard. It's hard when people in authority, they expect their students to have a certain standard of listening, right, to them, because knowledge comes from them. But then it seems as though it's annoying when authority figures don't hold the same standard of listening themselves as they hold to their students.
mhm.
And a teacher should always, I mean, there's so many, I mean, I'm not a teacher, so it's very easy for me to say teachers should do this because teachers already have 100 things on their mind. But one of the priorities needs to be knowing where their students are coming from and what mind space are their students in. And that may come from a lack of maybe emotional intelligence training in school or in like college. And I think it also goes, it needs to be said too that in our culture, we don't value teachers nearly as much as they need to be, right? Like the average teacher makes what, $45,000 a year less? Definitely less. Like middle public school teachers should be getting we to be able to say unequivocally that we value our teachers. We need to be saying public school teachers are going to make $70,000 a year. And what that will do is it'll make it more competitive. It will be like there will be it'll be like there will be a specialist professor in every classroom. That's what we need, and easier said than done.
Yeah, and other things too, like most teachers buy own school supplies for the kids.
Yeah, it's
That
nuts.
comes out of their paycheck.
Yeah.
And we also need to fix like the social things around it and the like financial things around everything. Like I know teachers who over this pandemic have been like buying loads of food and driving around to their students and giving it to them because those students relied on lunch that they got, and sometimes that was the only they would get in a day. So these teachers going around and giving their families, and the teachers really care about the kids. It seems like it seems like the teachers care about the kids, the school doesn't care about the kids, and the education system doesn't care about the kids. So teachers can only do so much with the very limited resources that they have.
You know what? Like I'm so loving this conversation, and I would really love to continue it. Maybe another time because so much of what you said was kind of like choppy, and like you're just so articulate, and I think your voice is so important. And yeah, like the world is lucky to have someone like you in it to be able to voice these things. And so I don't know, if you are ever free again, I'm gonna send you over my anyone watching, wants to talk to me, you can just shoot an email over there and we can schedule a Zoom talk or something. But before we get going, are there any other kind of things that you want to talk about besides? Because we're not really, we haven't really even talked about you yet. Like is biology really something that you love? Like what is I guess the question is, what are some things that you really like that you don't think have been incorporated into your education as much that you'd like to do more of?
I just um I don't know. I just want to help kids. Anywhere that I could be, I would be helping kids. That would be the thing that would make me the happiest, I guess.
Wow.
So
Have you is that something that you've thought about much lately?
I've been thinking about it a lot, and I get some chances to do it through school and stuff. But
Like tutoring or something?
um, uh, there is um, there's an organization that I work at my school, and I really cannot say the name of the
Totally.
organization
Totally.
because they have a pretty social media policy. So I hope you, but
Yeah, that's not a problem.
they we um we visit medically vulnerable children. So back before the pandemic, I pretty much every weekend I was at a children's hospital. I was at like a dance-a-thon for pediatric cancer, or I was at the Ronald McDonald House, or I was FaceTiming who couldn't have physical visitors because they were having bone marrow transplant, or I was in a hospital room, or I was watching a child who was newly cancer-free ring the cancer-free bell at the end of the hospital hallway. And um, I mean, it was special to me, and we still do things because those kids need support, and they need friends now more than ever. So we do a lot of video calls with them, but um, it's
That's great.
it's
Well,
it's something that
oh yeah.
it's something that I love to do, and I love to see children's perspectives on things. These kids are going through so much, and sometimes it's nice to kind of I can't share too much about you. I don't want to give it away, but we go as like selves as college students. We go in dresses, and we go in costumes, and we go in masks, and it's nice to be able to give those kids like a little bit of normalcy. And sometimes I think that those kids are they are going through so much, and they are happier now, like in the moment, than sometimes I feel like I am, and things are going relatively great for me. And like we'll give these kids like a little dollar store plastic tiara, and they'll act like $1 million. Like they are just so in the moment and so full of joy that like and I talked to someone else about this, and they said that I probably taught the kids, how to be brave through treatment and stuff. And I said that it sounds cheesy, but those kids teach me more about life and more about bravery and about joy than I could ever teach them.
Yeah. Oh, that's badass. That is badass. That's great. I mean, that's yeah. What I mean, that's what power is. Power is allowing yourself to be vulnerable, living to actually like live life and be vulnerable. You know, they don't teach that in school. They do not teach that in school.
Hmm.
In school, we learn about control. We learn how to try to control our circumstances. In science, we learn how to actually like do experiments where we have control things, and we I mean, obviously science is extremely helpful and necessary for our culture to thrive and grow. But
Of course.
there's a psychological aspect of our lives and our culture that we're just missing. We're not talking about it, and it's that vulnerability, it's that courage that we have as children that where you're just so in the moment um, and it needs to be something that needs to be continued. It needs to continually be honored, that courage and that vulnerability through life as an adult, how to
Yeah.
maintain that, you know.
Yeah. I like this is something that like this is kind of like a mindfulness thing that I've just recently started over quarantine. I should have been doing it for a long time. I spend so much time I spend so much time every day learning organic chemistry or learning microbiology or learning all of these academic things. So I try to take a little chunk of time every day. It doesn't matter how long it is. I try to take a little bit of time every day to learn how to be happy. And that
Hmm.
doesn't sound like it's something you have to learn, but but to look forward to and to take time to learn how to be happy. Like, I you know
Yeah.
if
I'm
I
sent. Oh yeah, I'm just sending you a few. I'm listening. I just am sending you books that I've read that I think you would really love.
oh cool. I just I try to take a little time every day where I don't, just especially where I don't pass any judgment on myself, and I don't let what society has told me, you know, some I heard somewhere, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent. I heard somewhere that the first thing you think is what you're conditioned to think. The second thing you think shows who you really are. So like for example, when like if you saw someone out like if you saw someone like walking on the sidewalk in like bright pink leggings, your first thought would probably be, wow, what a weirdo. But your second would be, you know what? If walking down the street in bright pink leggings is what makes them happy, they should be happy. I'm not here to pass judgment on you. So
Mm.
your first thought is what you've sort of been conditioned to think is the correct response, but your second thought, like you have the
Yeah.
choice to stick with that first thought or not.
That's absolute. I completely agree with that. You know, your first thought is a thought. The second thought is actually the awareness of thought,
Yeah,
and it's that awareness that is you.
yeah. And like,
Because you can get caught up in thought, right? That's what we are. We are both really. We are the stories that we create for ourselves, right? Like we create stories about ourselves, and those stories generate thought, right? Like, oh, this, and, but but then we're also aware of that story of ourselves. We're aware of the roles that we're playing. Maybe not all the time,
Yeah,
but that awareness is actually our full presence.
it's like
I agree with that.
it gets kind of trippy if you think about it
Oh,
too
yeah,
long. Like one what
absolutely.
I've been thinking of is that like um someone could someone could go through my entire life and have every event in my life happen to them, but at the end of their life they would still have a completely different experience with life than me because they thought about it a different way. That
Hmm.
is bizarre to me because
Just to let
you
you know, you're a total hippie, and I don't know if you know.
no,
You are.
I get it.
That's
I know
awesome. That's
I know
badass.
that's like a total like
No, no. Well, what's funny is that, like, literally, when you were talking about that two thoughts thing, that's exactly what they talk about in A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. That's
yeah.
exactly what he talks about. It's amazing. I wrote
I
that, and then you
understand.
started talking about it. It's crazy.
I understand it sounds like a kind of like hippie thing, but it's not. I actually stupidly enough, I um thought about it when I was playing Assassin's Creed because it's like you go back in this person's life and you do these major events in their life in history. And I was like, I love this I was like, I love this game, but some people hate this game. I saw this thing this way, but other people saw it this way when it happened. How is that possible if we're playing the same game?
Yeah,
And then I was like, well, if that was me and someone went through all the major events in my life, they could think about it a lot of different ways.
I'm interested in your reaction to the hippie comment because I think that's really interesting because I think in general culture, like normally being called a hippie or being thinking about yourself as hippie is has a negative connotation to it, which is so funny because I consider it like I think it's badass and shows enlightenment. And it's just interesting like how labels are viewed differently in society. Like your perception, the connotation that you get from a hippie is very different from mine. And so I just wanted to clarify that. And this is why labels suck, right?
No, I get that.
But I
I
wanted to
didn't
clarify that I think, and I want to rearticulate that what I get is that you are. What I meant by hippie was that I believe that you are aware of your awareness, uh, probably more intensely than most people who are younger than 20 years old. You know, if you're younger than 20, I'm guessing you are.
I get that.
You know,
I didn't feel like you were calling me a hippie as like an insult or anything, but
mhm.
people can like say stuff in like different connotations. Like, I don't know, one time I saw this skit about how like you could use a made up word. Like you could just make up a random noise, but if you said it at somebody the correct way, they would take it as an insult. Like just go up to somebody and go, "You're a fucking chubo." There's no such thing as a chubo, but they're gonna take that as an insult, even if they've never heard that sound before.
I love that. Yeah, that's so funny.
But it's true.
Chubo,
Like,
that's going on a shirt. I'm gonna put that on
don't
a
put it on the
shirt.
shirt. I stole it from College Humor. You'll have to like pay them.
You shouldn't have said that because now I'm gonna have to do the copyright thing.
You can cut it out. You can edit it out in post and
No,
pretend I made it up.
I try to not edit the video. I just try to make it like in its full primary text. That's what this thing is, you know.
You can say my mic cut out.
Yeah, exactly. Her mic cut out. Yeah, she disappeared. Yeah, totally. Well, yeah, this was just delightful. This was just really nice. I'm glad that you procrastinated on Omegle tonight. Um, so for the video, I put a code name that you like to use, and also the state that you're from, just to kind of give an idea of general culture. So, what should I use for your name and also your state? If you could not lie about your state, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Maybe,
I'm
maybe we
trying.
should call you Chubo. That's spelled.
That's an insult. Didn't you hear me? That's an insult.
Well, it depends on the connotation, Chubo.
It depends on the connotation that you say it. Honestly, if you get me down that road, like I know we're gonna finish this up, but if you get me down that road, I will eventually start talking about how all words are made up. Like,
Oh, yeah.
people will like, I'll say, like, someone will say something and people will be like, that's a made up word. I'm like, everything's a made up word.
Chubo, it sounds like you're meant to go into philosophy or linguistics, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, there's so many things. There's so many things.
I don't
You're very
know.
passionate. It's pretty awesome. Pretty badass.
I'm thinking. Okay, so The Masked Singer is one of my favorite shows, and I know, but
I didn't
it's
say anything.
it people judge when I say that I unironically love The Masked Singer, but like I got really addicted to it and watching it. But the whole premise of the show is to go up and perform without being judged off of who you are when you come on stage. Which sometimes it makes the show very funny because, like, Sarah Palin was on there
Really?
in costume, and she was like, "Yeah, no one's judging me for being Sarah Palin. They can't prove I'm Sarah Palin until they unmask me." Or like, I don't know who else has been on there, like Joe, but they knew it was her, and like, I don't know, like all these different people like went on there and were like, I'm not being judged off of how I look or who I am. I'm on another tangent. But anyways, my favorite character, my favorite performer who has ever been on there was in season 1 and was, so maybe my code name should be Rabbit.
Rabbit.
Yes.
Rabbit from I'm gonna guess
Ohio.
Michigan. Ohio, okay.
You were close. Ohio.
That's where I went to school. Went to Kenyon College. Do you know that school?
No.
It's a small little college in the middle of nowhere. I loved it.
In cartoon, they have a bit where they're literally like in the endless void realm of death, and they go, all is strange, and are we dead, or is this Ohio?
Yeah, I mean, I liked Ohio. I'll tell you.
I like Ohio jokes about Ohio. Like, everyone's like, you have cornfields and 3 bills. They're like, what about the hell bill? Hell is real billboard.
Well, yeah. I mean, there are the Jesus billboards. They're also
You can't without seeing the hell is real billboard.
there are also a ton of Amish people in Ohio, actually.
Oh, true.
And there are actually a lot of cities in Ohio. You have Cincinnati, Dayton, Akron, Columbus, Cleveland. There's another one.
I don't know. I'd say Cincinnati, Columbus, and Cleveland are the big ones.
Big ones. Dayton, I guess.
Oh, Dayton.
But it's not a bad state. It has its issues, but it's also not awful. So, for all the haters out there of Ohio, if there are any haters. Well, Rabbit, this was great. This was a really fun time.
Oh, wait. I have one funny habit, and it goes off what I was saying of the judged for who you are thing. That was the theme. So of judges, who everyone is, and the morons. I'm really sorry, but literally picked the worst the judges. Like Jenny McCarthy is one, like anti-vax. But so who the rabbit is, and I think it was Robin Thicke, because Robin Thicke is, so it shows you the caliber of judges they have on the show, that he goes, maybe that's from NSYNC. And Jenny no, I know Joe NSYNC. Joey can't dance like, sing like that, and he's way too costume. She just said it, and like 2 episodes later, he gets a little ask him, and it was Joey Fatone, and she said all like, no, she was saying it to his face, but he just called him fat and untalented. It's like, is that guy? Nah, he's fat and
Was Jenny McCarthy, is she the one that was married to Jim Carrey?
one who's married to Donnie Wahlberg. I don't know. Most people only know her for she kind of kick-started the mainstream movement.
Which movement?
The anti-vax movement.
Oh.
Vaccines.
Oh, well, she's really paying for those words now, isn't she?
Yeah. Other thing I think is funny about The Masked Singer, like that the show is in there, and she sits on the panel, and the licensed physician is the guy sitting, and she just has to deal with that. It's Zhang, and he was on like Community, and he sits next every day, and I can't in the kind of conversations that they have when they're
Interesting. Yeah, that's another show that I don't know that actor or that judge, but I really need to watch Community. One of my friends was telling me about how good that show is.
Anyway, I'm on tangent.
No. Well, it was really nice talking, and if you ever want to talk again, maybe we can we could get at it when you have maybe, or whenever our Wi-Fi's are kind of on a similar wavelength. We can figure it out. Yeah, shoot me an email. We can talk again. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. And your video will be uploaded probably within the next 20 minutes. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so you get to see it and share it with people. If chances are you won't, and which is fine. But it's cool. Like, you get a few people who watch it, and so your voice is being heard around the world.
That's cool.
Yeah, pretty fun. So, okay. Well, good luck with your finals. You'll kill it.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, have a good night. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Here's how to know.